Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics. In this video, I'd like to discuss the orange madman across the sea and what is shaping up to be the most horrifying chapter in America's history. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, the triple source of my nightmares right now is COVID. Specifically, the government's handling of COVID, Brexit, and Trump. And I've done something on the other two today. So the nylon-haired one now. So some of you may, of course, know of the recent revelations concerning Trump's attitude to COVID in the early days. He has been exposed in a taped interview recently, making it clear that he understood just how serious COVID was, but that he deliberately played it down to the American public. Playing it down in a way, of course, that got the American public to not themselves take it seriously. The end result is a lot of extra Americans dead. This is not doing his image any good at all. And there was also a much more serious bombshell recently, disparaging remarks about those in the US military. Now, being the commander-in-chief was always going to be tricky for the orange one because, you know, he's a well-known draft dodger who nonetheless orders other Americans to lay down their lives in a way that he himself was not prepared to do. But the offensive way in which he described military servicemen and women, both past and present, is costing him a lot of political capital. And we are 50 days away from a seminal moment in US political history. So one of three things will be announced following the November presidential election. One, Biden will win by a landslide. This is the best outcome, but even then we can expect Trump to cause serious damage before he's finally hauled out of the White House. Two, Biden will win a tight contest. This is the most explosive because this has the potential for Trump to declare the results of entire states null and void due to fraud. The US military is almost certainly going to have to intervene against their commander-in-chief. It has to be hoped that Republicans would abandon Trump at this stage, otherwise it could get very messy indeed. Or three, Trump wins or steals the election, doesn't matter, same result. Now, America under those circumstances may avoid a civil war, but the future hardly looks better for it. And it won't simply be a case of 4 more years of this hell, this lunatic, because the first 4 years were not the same as each other. Each one was more horrific than the last. And it's not really believed he's reached peak psychopath yet. Winning re-election, even through foul means, doesn't matter. Winning re-election will be the mother of all positive reinforcements for both him and his more extreme supporters. The stakes could not be higher. The attacks on both Biden and US institutions will gather pace. Trump is actively encouraging his supporters to vote twice, to commit a crime. He's telling them to fill in their mail-in ballots and then go to the polling stations anyway and vote there. Trying to tell them that they will not be able to vote there if their mail-in ballot has succeeded. And the more that polls suggest that Biden could win this, the more extreme Trump will become. But just as his side will aim to ramp up their rhetoric as the campaign goes on, I have no doubt that his opponents will do likewise. I mean, it wasn't at all odd that the very damaging Trump tapes were made public now. Months after they were recorded half a year ago. You know, it's the beginning of a campaign. And they will hardly have shot their load right from the start. The anti-Trump team will absolutely have things in reserve, ready to throw out at suitable intervals to keep the damaging headlines coming. In fact, you want those damaging headlines to never be away from the public's gaze. And you would imagine that the worst of all the revelations will come a couple of days before Americans go to the polls. And I wonder what it will be. That's what's consuming, you know, my curiosity at the moment. What will be the most damaging thing they can come up with? Because that'll be left till last. After all, Trump is not exactly discreet. You don't really feel like there's going to be a genuine skeleton in the closet here. You sort of feel like we know exactly what sort of person he is and what he would do. When these Trump tapes were released and we were told about this COVID claim, no one battered an eyelid. Oh, of course, this is what we expect of him. It was very damaging, but it's what we expect of him. So perhaps the main attack, the one chosen to be launched just as Americans are making up their minds how to use their votes or whether to use it at all, will be not so much the most damaging revelation, but maybe the one that is least deniable, the one that's really provable. Now, my girlfriend was telling me something she saw on Facebook. This is in Britain, where it's going round as well. It's a Facebook post trying to smear Joe Biden. It was showing like a family photo shoot type thing. He's got his hand on the shoulder of a girl. He moves across to another family member. His hand moves along with it towards her chest. And it's been made out as a grope. Of course, it's not a grope. You can see that from the footage. And as if he would do anything like that when he knows he's got the cameras rolling on him. But there was the intended comment, of course, about, well, maybe Trump is the lesser of two evils. The lesser of two evils? Trump? The man who boasts about sexually assaulting women and who has professed a desire to have sex with his own daughter. Maybe that's what the final revelation will be. I mean, I don't want to put you off your tea or your breakfast, depending on where you're watching this. But would a Trump sex tape with his daughter finish off his credibility? Because with the polarised nature of American politics, which seems even more split than British politics these days, I'm not even sure it would. Of course, the key point here is that is the angle that the Trump campaign will seek to drive. They know they can't hide Trump's evil from many people. But what they'll try and do is say, well, he's better than Biden. Biden will deliver a much worse America. But in terms of those revelations, of course, not all the revelations that will come out will be planned by the Biden campaign, or even a separate campaign against Trump, of which there are several. You know, it'll be from people just like with the tapes, people who just want to sell a book, you know, and the best time, if you're going to sell a book with revelations about a president, absolutely best time to do that is in their second term campaign. But there must absolutely be something left in the barrel. You know, it's surely certain that there will be another major revelation later this month and another next month. And the biggest of all at the end of October, just in time to filter through to the country, to the voting population, but not enough time to effectively counter if Trump's team are not anticipating it. After all, this campaign can't be fought on political ideas, as it should be. If ideas had anything to do with American politics right now, Trump would not even be a player. It's a campaign of emotions, of course. Trump supporters will not be the majority of voters, just like they weren't last time. They may not even be a majority in the states in which they win, but they will turn out in force. They will be well represented. The Biden campaign needs to generate that same level of emotion. You know, that fervour in their own supporters to get out there and vote, to believe that every vote counts. They need people to realise, that the fight against Trump and what he's doing to America needs their vote. That it's not going swimmingly just because the polls say so. And to do that, they're going to need to do something bigger than the fact that Trump lied about COVID. But those are my thoughts, as I see it, from thousands of miles away. Not unfortunately safely thousands of miles away, because apart from the fact there is no such thing as safety away from a lunatic in charge of the most powerful country on earth. But my own government does take notes, you know. But there we go. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.